1 Samuel chapter 28. I am going to turn the other mic on. And I'm going to try to fly tonight, so I apologize. And I'm going to just put this whole thing up on the screen so I don't have to piddle with it, hopefully. Helps if I turn this on. So I want to talk about chapter 28, chapter 29, and chapter 30 tonight. And I know I'm already late. I should have been up 20 minutes ago, but it's important to me. I'm really leaning toward making them an official offer. I want to make sure it's the right thing, and I do, as much as I am viewed by, not by you folks, by outsiders, as being a dictatorial type of a leader. It's not my style. It's not who I am. I'm very confident in what I do. A lot of that's because I just don't care. I say don't care. It's like, I've been who I am for 60 years, and I'm comfortable in my skin. I know my shortcomings better than most. It really disarms people when somebody nails you at the back and say, you're this and that, and I don't like this. And I'll say, wow, okay. So you're right. And I said, if that's the only thing you know bad about me, we're in good shape, because I know a whole lot more than that. And God knows a whole lot more than that. If that's the only weakness of mine I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So I'm comfortable in that. And I'm not intimidated by people. I don't care if you're rich. I don't care if you're poor. I can talk with a drug addict and treat him the same way as I can a millionaire. It doesn't bother me. I just don't care. So I'm comfortable with all that. I do take advice. Ask my staff. I take advice. I listen to people's opinions. There's a lot of times where hearing people's opinions have swayed or changed mine. Most of the time I listen to try to get confirmation. I'm trying to get confirmation about an opinion I have, and to know that this is the will of God. And so that's why we've spent a little bit of time today. You got to realize I've been spending time since 5 o'clock today talking to people about the Hansons. I had a staff meeting from 5 to 6, a deacons meeting from 6 to 6:45, and now with you folks. So I've been spending a lot of time today talking about it, not to mention all the time I've spent before today talking about it. And now we'll continue to pray about it between now and Sunday. Sunday afternoon, I'll take once again a short moment to discuss it with the folks here and tell you whether I'm going to call them on Monday morning and say, I'd like to offer you the job. And if you want to have an answer now, I'll take it. If you'd like to pray about it a while, that'd be fine too. So maybe we'll have an answer by next Wednesday. We'll see. Chapter 28. The desperation of Saul. And it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare to fight with Israel. And Achish said unto David, Know thou assuredly that thou shalt go with me to battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know that thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, Therefore will I make thee keeper of mine head forever. Now what he's saying to him is, obviously this is a Philistine talking to David, and David, he thinks, has proved himself. Of course, David has kind of told those white lies we talked about. And we're going to go to battle, and you're going to be with me. As a matter of fact, you're going to be responsible to make sure I don't die. Okay, this is the highest honor you can have. You're going to make sure to take care of the king. Verse 3, Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits and wizards out of the land. Important point to make here in verse 3 is that Saul makes sure he gets rid of all of this witchcraft. But we're going to find out later in the chapter what he does. Look at verse 4. And the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. By the way, people that aren't right with God are afraid of all sorts of things. The Bible says, the wicked flee when no man pursueth. Okay? So you understand, Saul, who was a mighty guy in his day, is at a point in life where he's very frail, very fragile, and he's afraid of many things. Verse 6, And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not. Well, there's a shocker. You got to understand that God doesn't talk to you in a lot of situations of life. Sometimes God can't talk to you because of sin in your life. Sometimes he can't talk to you because of disobedience. Okay, that your prayers be not hindered, the Bible says. So a lot of things that can keep that from happening. So he inquires of the Lord. The Lord answered him not, neither by dreams nor by Urim. Remember the Urim and the Thummim, those are the colored stones that are in the priest's ephod, where basically you're asking God a question, you reach in, you pull out a white one, it means yes, you pull out the black one, it means no, or something to that effect. Then said Saul, verse 7, unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to inquire of her. And his servants said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. Now he's just cleansed the land of all these people that do witchcraft, and now he wants a witchcraft. He wants a witch. And so he goes to the witch of Endor. Verse 8, and Saul disguised himself, because everybody knows, if you put on a rubber nose, God won't know who you are. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment, and I know he's disguised himself so the people won't see the king going in unto a witch after the king has already outlawed witchcraft. And went, and 2 men with him, and they came to a woman by night, and he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, behold, thou knowest that what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits and wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life to cause me to die? So the witch at Endor says, hey, you know this has been outlawed. Are you trying to lay a trap for me so that I get killed? Verse 10, and Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying, as the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, bring me up Samuel. Now this is interesting to me. Saul, who doesn't listen to Samuel half the time while Samuel's alive, now wants to listen to him after he's dead. And he goes to the witch of Endor and he says, bring up for me Samuel. Let's read on. Verse 12. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spake to Saul, saying, why hast thou deceived me, for thou art Saul? Now, in verse 12, I got to say a couple things here. You say, preacher, can you explain this story completely? No. Did she bring up Samuel? No. Did Samuel come up? Yes. I think the witch was the most shocked person in the crowd. Scared her to death. No, by the way, I think I have a picture here. If I can do this without taking the mark of the beast. Let's see here. There it is. There it is. So, let's read on. Verse 13, and the king said unto her, be not afraid, for what sawest thou? So she sees it, Saul doesn't. And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, what form is he of? And she said, an old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel. And he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? Now, there's a lot of explanations here I could give you, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know. Was this, in fact, a demonic situation where it really wasn't Samuel at all, and Saul just thought it was? Could be. Could God have allowed him to speak like Abraham, who was speaking from Abraham's bosom? Could God have divinely and miraculously allowed this to take place? He's God. He could do whatever he likes. So I can't completely explain this to you, only to tell you that it happened. Okay? And Samuel said to Saul, why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known to me what I shall do. Then said Samuel, wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? Samuel says, or at least the Spirit says to him, why are you asking me? You know, if God's departed from you, isn't that answer enough? Verse 17, and the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me, for the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David. Well, I can tell you this. This is either genuinely Samuel or a demon. Either way, because, by the way, demons know a lot of Bible. Okay, they really do. Sometimes more than an average Baptist does, but they know a lot of Bible. Okay? And he knew what Samuel had said, because he writes it here. Because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executed his fierce wrath upon Amalek, therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow shalt thou and thy son be with me. You know what that means, right? You and your boy are going to die in the battle tomorrow. You're going to be dead just like me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel in the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway all along on the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day nor all the night. And the woman came unto Saul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, Behold, thine handmaiden hath obeyed thy voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and have hearkened unto thy words which thou spakest unto me. Now therefore I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaiden, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, that thou mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. But he refused and said, I will not eat. Saul is so difficult. And read on and you'll see why. But his servants together with the woman compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voices. So he arose from the earth and sat upon the bed. And the woman had a fatted calf in the house, and she hasted to kill it, and took flour and kneaded it, and baked bread, unleavened bread therefore. And she brought it before Saul and before his servants, and they did eat. Then they arose up and went away that night. So he no witchcraft, throw it out of the country. But now I'm in trouble, I'm going to go to the witch. Don't want to eat, I'm too upset. Okay, I'll eat. Okay, this is a double-minded man. Saul's confused about everything. And Saul, in his life here, has shown himself to be unfit as a leader. He's devoid of spiritual leadership. He's denying his own convictions. He gets a message from a dead man, and it devastates Saul. But the message from the dead man is the same message he had from the live man. It hasn't changed. The chickens are coming home to roost on Saul, and he doesn't really know what to do. I like the picture of the witch there. Can you see her? Yeah, pretty good look. Okay, although, I don't know. These are some famous drawings that somebody, some artist guy did. I was going to say something else, but I can see the little sign on the camera, and I'm on. So I will be pleasant and pastoral. Chapter 29. The distrust of the Philistines. I want to get to chapter 30 because I got a real big application I want to make. I know, last week I made an application from chapter 30. I got a lot of applications. They all come from chapter 30. So I got to get to chapter 30. So I'm hustling. Chapter 29. Now the Philistines, let me put the whole outline up for you. Okay? Doubted by the princes. And by the way, I told this story last week. But today I want to read it for you. Now the Philistines gathered together all their armies to Aphek, and the Israelites pitched by a fountain which is in Jezreel. And the lords of the Philistines passed on by hundreds and by thousands, but David and his men passed on in the rearward with Achish. Now remember, Achish had told him, you're going to keep my head. And so they're getting ready to go to battle, and all the armies are out there, and David and his men are backed by the king, because they're going to protect the king. This is what the king had wanted. Verse 3. Then said the princes of the Philistines, what do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, is not this David the servant of Saul, and the king of Israel, which hath been with me these days or these years? And I have found no fault in him since he fell unto me unto this day. He said, hey, what are you talking about? He's been with us. He's fighting for us. He's been with us. We know who he is. And that's why he's here. Verse 4. When the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him, and the princes of the Philistines said unto him, make this fellow return, that he may go again to his place, that thou hast appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? So he said, hey, the Philistines princes are saying, hey, we're going to get in battle. He's going to decide to turn on us, cut our heads off, and give them to his king to get back in good graces. Because you remember, he comes on the scene cutting the head off of a Philistine, Goliath, right? And this is what gets him his notoriety to begin with. So they're saying, hey, this could be a big ruse. Don't let this guy go to battle with me. Verse 5. Is not this David of whom they sang one to another in dancing, saying, Saul slew his thousands and David his 10,000s? Why do you read that? Why is it in there? Because the Philistines heard those songs. They heard the legend and the reputation of David. If they did not hear them themselves, they heard about them, how they were singing the songs of David's praises for being a great warrior in killing his tens of thousands. And those tens of thousands were mostly Philistines. Verse 6. Then Achish called David and said unto him, surely as the Lord liveth, thou hast been upright, and thy going out and thy coming in with me in the host is good in my sight. For I have not found evil in thee since the day of thy coming unto me unto this day. Nevertheless, the Lord's favor thee not. Wherefore now return and go in peace, that thou displease not the lords of the Philistines. And David said to Achish, But what have I done? And what hast thou found in thy servant, so long as I have been with thee unto this day, that I may not go fight against the enemies of my lord the king? And let me stop here at the beginning of verse 9 and say this. David is a character in the Bible that is constantly misunderstood. He's constantly false accused. Whether he's false accused by his brothers that say to him when he comes down to the battle, we know the naughtiness of thine heart, I think is what the scripture says. Or whether it's the king who doubts his ability, Saul, he's always being doubted. His motives are always being doubted. And now, even the Philistines, who he's lived with for a period of time and seems to have proved himself faithful, at least in their eyes, he's being doubted again. And David's thinking to himself, does anybody believe in me? Does anybody ever believe in me? Every time I try to do something, people think I have a bad motive. Every time I try to do something, I'm doubted. David is just being prepared to be a pastor of a local church. That's all. That's all. You don't know how many times I've had people tell me why I do certain things. You did that just to make this. Really? I'm glad you explained it to me, because I did not know that. I did not realize that is why I did that. I said to someone some years ago in my office right there, it's incredible that you know my heart when I don't even know my own heart all the time, because the Bible says the heart is desperately wicked. Who can know it? So I struggle knowing my own heart, but you seem to have it down pretty well. I guess I should call you and find out my motives before I do things, because you know all about me. It's just ridiculous. People decide who you are, and sometimes, no matter what you do, you can't break the mold. They decided who David was. He couldn't get out of that mold. Even though Achish was for him, the princes of the Philistines weren't, and so he could not go to battle. Verse 9, and Achish answered and said to David, I know that thou art good in my sight as an angel of God. Notwithstanding, the princes of the Philistines have said, he shall not go up with us to the battle. Wherefore now rise up early in the morning with thy master's servants that are come with thee, and as soon as ye be up early in the morning and have lighted, depart. So get up, have your breakfast, get dressed, and go back to your city. So David and his men arose up early and departed in the morning to return into the land of the Philistines, and the Philistines went up to Jezreel. So David's going back to Ziklag. They are going to go forward into the battle. And now chapter 30, and so I'm supposed to go to a quarter after to dismiss you, so I have 20 minutes to really get to what I want to talk about tonight. So chapter 30. Oh, yes, let's not forget about this wonderful thing. So there's some pictures. There's a picture of the area that we're talking about that I took. There's Mount Gilboa. It's another little trekky place, and no, I did not hike up that path, nor do I have a desire to. So let's talk about chapter 30. I'll put those up on the screen. The devastation of the decision. And I told you this story a little bit last week, and now I'm going to tell it to you again and make some other application that I did not make on last week. Chapter 30. And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire. You remember that when David left, he went down and did battle against the Amalekites, sort of alluding to Achish, the king, that he actually had attacked some of the Israelites that were down there in the south, but he didn't. He went past them, and he actually attacked the Amalekites. So when the Amalekites knew that the Philistines were going to go to war against Israel, they're moving pretty much straight east to attack the Israelites, and they came up from the south and started to take over cities. And the first place they wanted to go was Ziklag, because the Amalekites, who had been allies with the Philistines, were upset because David and his men, who were now living with the Philistines and represented to some degree Achish, came down and took over some of their towns, some of their areas, some of their cities, and killed everybody. So they're going to retaliate, and that's what's taking place here. Verse 2, and had taken the women captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. It's an important statement. They didn't kill anybody like David did. They took them all prisoner. That's going to be important because David's going to get them all back alive. Okay, verse 7. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's two wives were taken captives, Ahinoam and the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed for the people's sake, For the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. I talked about that last week. David is a place where everybody's turning against him. Achish doesn't let him go to battle. His own men now want to stone him to death because of this situation. These are the men that left everything to come and follow him, and now they are turning on him also. And David has nobody but the Lord. Where could I go but to the Lord? Song about David in a lot of ways. The only person he can go to is God, and he encourages himself in the Lord. Verse 7, and David said to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought hither the ephod to David, and David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. So David went, he and his 600 men that were with him, and he came to the brook Bezor, where those that were left behind stayed. And David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 men abode behind, which were so faint that they could not go over the brook Bezor. Now here's what I want to talk to you about. Everybody has a part in the battle. Everybody has a part in the battle. What do you mean by that, preacher? Well, in this text, and we'll try to get through the rest of the story here in a short period of time. In this text, there are three different groups of people that have a part in this battle. First of all, there are those that pursue. You notice in verse 8, when he got the answer was pursue. And you'll notice that it says in verse 10, and David pursued. So David and 400 men went and pursued. So in the battle, in the ministry, I want you to understand there's a group of people that are pursuers. They're on the forefront. They're at the edge of the battle. These are the people that are soul winners. These are the people that have the right standards. They're the people on the forefront, on the attack, trying to do the ministry. They're those that pursue. But everybody's not a pursuer. You'll notice that 200 of these men were so faint that they had to stay behind. And when you get to the end of this story, because just for sake of time, let me tell you the story. So they go and pursue. They get all their people back. They get all their wives, all their children, all their cattle, and they spoil the city. So they take all the spoil of the city. When they're done with the battle, David's 400 men that went to the battle, the rules of combat in those days were that when you go to battle and spoil a city, the warriors, the pursuers, split up all the bounty. Okay? They split up all the money. So they were going to split up all the money. And David said, but wait a minute, we need to share it with the 200 men that stayed by the stuff. And that's where that phrase, stay by the stuff, comes. If you read later in the chapter here, you actually will read that phrase. They stayed by the stuff. Okay? So he said, we need to share it with those people that stayed by the stuff. And they said, no, they weren't up here pursuing. And he said, no. They had an equal part in the battle. Now look, you got to understand something. At some point, some pursuers get old, get tired, get weak, have situations and issues, and they cannot pursue anymore. So what do? I'll tell you what they should do. Stay by the stuff. Stay by the stuff. Maybe you're at a place in life where physically you can't pursue anymore. You're not going to be out here knocking doors. Look, I realize I'm at a place where I can't do it as long as I used to do it. I can't push it as far as I used to push it. I can still do it. I can do everything I used to do, just not as long. I'm probably stronger now than I ever was. But if you want me to carry, I can carry a heavier bale of hay, but I can't carry as many bales of hay in a day as I did when I was 20. I can carry more hay when I was 20 than I can now, but I can pick up a heavier bale now. But I'm going to pick up one bale and put it on the truck and I'm done. See? So preacher, I used to be a bus captain. I used to be a soul winner. I used to be a Sunday school teacher. I used to be. Well, if you're still physically able, then you should be a pursuer. But if you can't pursue, don't give up. Stay by the stuff. Stay by the stuff. Stay faithful and stay behind soul winning in the King James Bible and a prayer warrior and do what you can. The people that stayed by the stuff were protecting the things that they already had. They were protecting the ground they had already gained. And we have gained some ground in fundamentalism, and the reason we lose that ground is quite often when people can't pursue anymore, they quit altogether. Instead of dropping back and staying by the stuff. Stay by the stuff. Say, I can't do much. Do what you can. The widow woman hath done what she could. Right? And it was the greatest gift of all. Although monetarily it didn't measure up, in God's eyes it was a greater gift because she gave all that she had. Stay by the stuff. So there were those that pursued. And by the way, understand something. All right, let me give you the last one, then I'll make the statement. And then there were those that provided. Now, and I've just jumped all the way through all these pages and notes, but I want you to see the last part of this because we're out of time. Look at verse 26. And it was so from that day forward that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel unto this day. Oh, let me read the verse before it. Verse 23. And David said, Ye shall not do so, my brother. And that's when they're arguing about not giving part of the bounty to those that stayed by the stuff. With that which the Lord hath given us, who hath preserved us and delivered the company that came against us into our hand. Excuse me. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part is that goeth down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. I'm sorry, I said stayed. It's tarried. But we get the phrase stayed by the stuff from there. They shall part alike. They get an even share. And it was so from that day forward that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel unto this day. So it became an ordinance in Israel that those people that were protecting the stuff got an equal share as the soldiers that pursued. They divided the bounty equally. They all had a part in the battle. You have a part in the battle when you sit out here and put together a gospel walking stick, when you put tracts and things in a bag. You have a part in the battle. But not only were there were those that pursued and those that protected, but there were those that provided. Notice what else happened. It says in verse 26, And when David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil unto the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, Behold, a present for you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord, to them which were in Bethel, and to them which were in South Ramoth, and to them that were in Jeter, and to them that were in Auror, and to them that were in Siphmoth, and to them that were in Eshtemoh, and to them that were in Rachal, and to them that were in the cities of the Jehemelites, and to them that were in the cities of the Kenites, and to them that were in Hormah, and to them that were in Korashan, and to them that were in Athak, and to them that were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were wont to haunt. Now, what does that mean? These are all the places where David and his men had gone through. All the little towns and all the little places. These are people that had given them food. These are people that had given them lodging. These are people that had given them kindness. And when they got back, David sent part of the spoil to all of those cities that provided. Say, preacher, I can't pursue anymore, okay? Then protect. Stay by the stuff. You say, well, I'm not even really in a position of life where I can protect, all right? Then provide. But they all got part of the spoil. Now, by the way, nothing compares to being the guy on the front line that gets to actually see the person saved. That reward is so much greater. To be back here and hear about it and know that you did something about it and you provided for it, that's also good. And it's even better than just being somebody way back here that gave toward it that had no idea what's going on about it. But if you can't pursue, at least protect. If you can't protect, at least provide. And then understand this, as a pastor, here's my job. There'll be some people back there doing nothing. Okay? So it's my job to try to take out the sheep goad and try to goad them into, by the way, that's where the phrase comes from, the sharp stick with it poked animals to try to get them to go where they're supposed to. Try to goad them into at least being a provider. And then there's some people in the provider category that really shouldn't be there. They should be up there. Some people need to be here. Okay, but some people need to be up there. So like all them people with handicap tags that don't need them. Parking all them handicap spots when they don't need to park there. Okay? There's some people that need to be in this spot, and others that don't need to be in this spot. So my job, should bring Micah back up for illustration, but I need a real knife. Brother John, we have just the tool for this in your car. And you and I both know what that is. So my job is to goad some of the people that think that all they can do is provide and get them to at least step up here and be protectors. And then there's some people that are protectors, okay, that think they're just staying by the stuff, that are really just cowards, and they need prodded to get up here and be a pursuer. So I want you to understand something. I will preach like everybody should be a pursuer quite often. But I know in my heart that everybody can't be a pursuer. Some of us are too faint in the battle. Some of us just can't do it. All right? Then you protect. Don't let go of our standards. Don't let go of our King James position. Don't let go of our dedication to faithfulness to church every time the doors are open. Don't let go of that. Amen. And there's some people that may not be able to even do that, but they can provide. They will be able to supply the army what they needed, the food and the lodging, all these things along the way to get them to where they need to go. They're going to provide. But realize there's a whole group of people back here watching us. And if we're back here doing nothing, they will feel justified in their position to do nothing also. So we jump into this pool and we start trying to push people forward. And sometimes as they start to get pushed forward, they grow to this place where they're a provider, and then they start to grow more, and they become a protector, and then they start to grow more, and they become a pursuer. And they pursue and pursue and pursue and pursue and pursue. And then we get old, and we get weak, or we have physical problems, we have different situations of life that take us out of that position. Okay? Don't go all the way back to nothing. Don't go all the way back to nothing. Then be a protector. Be a protector. I think everybody should be able to at least be a protector. If not, at least then be a provider. But don't go back to there. Don't go back to there. Understand, David understood that everybody had a part, and he gave equal share. By the way, he gave equal share to these two groups. He did not give an equal share to the providers. He gave them something, but not like these two groups got. Okay? The reward is always greater at this end. These two got an equal share of the bounty, but these people never got to physically see it happen. They only got to hear the stories about it. Nothing beats being a pursuer. Nothing, 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 nothing. And by the way, our churches can't be filled. It cannot be the will of God for us to have like 1% pursuers and 90% providers in a church. Can't be. Okay? That means there's a whole lot of people back there that are physically capable of walking, that are putting up the handicap sign and taking the easy way. Right? I understand I can't always see what's wrong with somebody when they get out of a car at a store or something, but we got all these handicap spots and a lot of people that need them, and I see people getting out of there, they're in their 20s, bebopping around and running into the store, and I'm thinking, dude, I need a baseball bat to make you handicapped. You're going to park there? Now you need to park there. Now you need to park there. Look, I have a handicap thing in my car to put up when I have my parents with me or do something like that. And there are many times when I could have used that and needed to use that maybe and didn't. And I never use it when I'm alone. I'd be embarrassed, to be honest with you. Realize I'm already a little touchy about this 60 thing, so, you know, you're 60 and using a handicap thing, and every store I go into, you know, Golden Corral, my wife and I went to Golden Corral, and the lady says, senior discount? I said, no. She said, it starts at 60. I said, ring it up. She said, but sir, I said, look at me. Watch my lips. Ring it up. I don't need to save $1.25. I'm working. I'm doing okay, okay? I'm doing okay. I don't need a free drink. I will pay for it. AARP, quit sending me things in the mail. I don't want to join AARP. Okay? I know all kinds of wonderful benefits you can get at 60. So what? I'll go down that road when I get to that road. Right now, I'm not on that road. You say, but it could save you money. I'll spend the money. Why? Because once I let my brain start thinking about the fact that I'm retreating, I'm going to retreat faster. I can't let my brain start going into that mode. My brain needs to think I'm still 20,
Now, occasionally that's going to get me in trouble. Quite regularly it's going to get me in trouble. Okay? When you're taking an axe and you start chopping stumps out of your yard, and you get one all chopped out, little stumps, and you chop it all out, and you think, I'm going to go after a second one. You go over there and you wield that thing a couple times, and your back goes, ah! Then you realize that your brain has just written a check that your body cannot cash. And I'm still suffering from that because I was stupid. I should have stopped at least with just one. Okay? But no. But listen, when I stop altogether, when I decide I can't swing an axe, when I can't pick up a shovel, when I decide, look, I'll be honest with you, I used to be able to go door to door for 8 hours in the heat. I can't do that. Can't. But I can go for an hour on a good day. I can go for an hour. So I'm not going to drop off to nothing. I've got to do something. Okay? I'm not going to let myself start falling back because I know once the mentality of retreat gets in, look, I've seen too many preachers go from pursuers to protectors to providers to nothing. Nothing. Not even going to church. I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm not going to let that happen to me. So I'm going to stay. Look, David, when he was old, they were going to go to battle against some of Goliath's brothers, and they made him stay home from the battle. Remember that? They said, look, King, we don't mean to be, we don't know how to tell you this, but you're a liability. We have too many guys trying to protect you as the king because you can't do what you used to do. It'd be better if you stayed home. Okay? And it was like the end of David. Once he quit going to battle, he was done. But when he was a young man, he stayed home from the battle, he got in trouble with Bathsheba. There was a time when he needed to be in battle, and he did not go because he was lazy. And there was a time when he was old, when he needed to not go to battle. Okay? And not understanding the difference hurt David on both ends of the spectrum. Okay? So you got to be wise enough to know the difference. If you're back here in one of these categories and you need to be up here, then I hope when I preach, the conviction of the Holy Spirit goads you into making you move forward. But I also want you to understand something. Sometimes when I'm ripping the people that need to move forward, you folks that really have a spot back here, you feel guilty, ashamed, embarrassed, and mad. Just like when a woman tries to offer me the senior discount. I know I am over 60, but I don't need to be told about it. I know I'm over 60 and I now qualify for a free iced tea. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to think about it. So humor me, young girl of 20. Humor me. Look at the old man, and if he doesn't ask for a senior discount, don't even mention it. Don't bring it up. I wanted to say, you want to go in the parking lot and race? We'll see who can win. We're only going to run like 3 car lengths, but let's go. For 3 car lengths, I can beat you. From here to the back of the building, I got a pretty good shot. Now, from here to the gym, unless there's a donut stand along the way, I ain't making it. Okay? But understand something. Please understand something. I know. I know. And I want you to know you have a part. You endure me screaming and carrying on a little bit, and I'll endure you not doing everything maybe you could. Because in my heart I know some of you can't. Some of you won't, but some of you can't. And I get it. I get it. And I'm going to try to make sure that you get part of the spoil. I'm going to try to do what David did and make sure. Look, the guys up here pursuing sometimes are so pharisaical, they think nobody helped us. Well, wait a minute. These guys helped you. These 200 were in the battle for years and years, and now they're just too faint, and here they are, and they're still protecting your rear end, buddy. And these people back here, you'd be nowhere if they wouldn't have given you food and lodging as you came through and taking care of you. You'd be nowhere without them. You understand where your bread got buttered. Don't get so big for your britches out there thinking, this is all mine because I am somebody. No, you're not. No, you're not. You understand that they all have a part, and you understand that you need to share the glory. Look, when someone gets saved around here, there's times where I may lead somebody to the Lord and not tell anybody about it because I don't want to think that I'm bragging about it. But when somebody gets saved, like at the fair, I want to make sure everybody that picked up a stick knows about it. I want to make sure that the people back here that provided the sticks and drilled the holes in the sticks and cut the sticks and bought the stuff, I want to make sure they know about it because they all had part in that. Everybody, but by the way, we can buy all the sticks we want, we can drill all the sticks we want, but if there's not somebody out here handing them out and giving the gospel, then we're not accomplishing anything. There's no use building weapons if there's nobody pursuing. So there must be people that pursue. But they all had a part. And that's what happens in chapter 30. Let's stand with this.